It's come up next. So I am now leaving my protozoan category and I am now going on to my next type of protist, the slime molds. Slime molds are multicellular protists. They are quite similar to amoeba in that they're fluid-like in nature, but slime molds are particular in their energy needs in that they feed on dead plant material. We once classified slime molds as a fungi. We'll go over that. DNA tech tools have shown us that this is not the case. Slime molds also have pseudopodia. Pseudopodia then is going to form this web-like structure, and the body itself forms as a plasmodium. It's going to help with their energy needs and their contact for food, water, and oxygen. It's going to help them grow in size. Algae. Algae can either be unicellular or multicellular. I'm going to go ahead and group the two. First up, I'm going to discuss unicellular algae. So algae, they are not plants. Algae are actually protists. Algae are protists where photosynthesis occurs, and it's going to help support food chains in freshwater and marine ecosystems. I actually have 3 types that I want to show you all. Dinoflagellates are the first type. Dinoflagellates are pretty cool. Note the wall, how protective and hardened these guys are. And if you've ever seen this image where somebody's running through the water and kind of the waves are coming in and as the waves are crashing or movement is occurring, like somebody running through it, and we see that lighting effect, it's actually these neat little protists that are doing that. Dinoflagellates are the ones that are lighting up the area using a technique called bioluminescence. It's really cool that these guys are able to light up and luminesce due to movement. Can anybody guess? I usually ask, can anybody guess why these guys do that? Why would they go through the trouble of getting that energy and expending that energy in order to light up, bioluminesce? Why? What would be the reason? Well, a lot of biologists believe it's actually a pretty terrible reason, but it's a way for them to have adapted. So a lot of these unicellular algae are used as a food resource, as phytoplankton. And so in order to avoid getting eaten, they light up when they sense movement. And basically what that does is it shines light on nearby fish. And it's basically saying, hey, eat these guys, not me. And so that was a way for them to avoid predation. At least biologists think that, which is a pretty cruel and nasty adaptation, but still a great one, none the least. Diatoms are my next unicellular algae type. Diatoms are really cool to look at underneath the microscope. They have glassy cell walls, as you can see here. These are mainly composed of silica. Volvox are my last unicellular algae. Volvox are colonial green algae, so they are unicellular, but they exist in colonies, so will be found in multiples, and they're named so for their green chloroplasts. Okay. Next up are multicellular algae. These are seaweeds. Again, these aren't plants, these are protists. So seaweeds are large multicellular marine algae. They like to grow on rocky shores. They're only similar to plants because of convergent evolution. So I taught you guys about convergent evolution and how dissimilar species are becoming more similar over time because of environmental, ecological niches similarities, but not because they descended from a common ancestor. So seaweeds are actually using DNA technology. They're more closely related to unicellular algae, and we've grouped them as protists. They are classified into 3 different groups based on the pigments of their chloroplasts. You can have green algae, red algae, or brown algae. The last thing I want to go over is this slide showing you microscopic animals. So everything that I've covered so far, not everything, mostly everything I've covered so far has to do with the study of microbiology, and that you need a microscope in order to look at these organisms because they're so tinily, usually one cell. Not everything that is microscopic has to be considered a bacteria, archaea, or protist. You can actually have microscopic animals. So yeah, like protists, some animals exist on the microscopic level. However, it's not to be confused with protists because unlike them, they are actually part of kingdom Animalia. They have different organ systems. Below is an example of a rotifer. This is actually taken from a freshwater pond. Check that guy out, neat little guy. He is undergoing multiple different functions. We can actually see a cardio system here. We can actually see respiratory system. We can actually see digestive system. So many things going on with this guy in order to classify it in the animal kingdom. Though simple, still very complex.